This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by OOMM Games. Can you escape Titan Station? No Escape is a fast-paced strategic maze-building tile-laying game for 2 to 8 players. Use actions against each other, play maze tiles to increase the maze for your opponents, and move using a creative dice system. A game takes approximately 30 minutes, and easy setup and takedown time makes it an ideal game for travel or family events. Be the first to find the escape pad. For everyone else, there is no escape. Launching to a Kickstarter near you on Monday, the 30th of August, so watch out for that one, as well as another company and game that is proudly powering this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is Dent Ventures. They have Stupid Users Beta card game. Beta is a unique, fast-paced, ever-changing item-looting, army-building card game that is also coming to Kickstarter. It will be hitting a Kickstarter near you on the 4th of September, so watch out for that great game, Stupid Users Beta card game. We will have the creators on the show for both of those games in the coming week, so watch for that. Anyways, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaf's computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leafs.
Welcome to Kickstarter Corner. Glad you could make it again. It's some great games on Kickstarter. Depending on when you're listening to this one, it may have either been wrapped up or it's really close. But Necrotopia Handbook to the Apocalypse. Necrotopia is a pen and paper role-playing game. We're releasing a complete 30-page color rule set book with original artwork. I hope this makes its goal. If it doesn't, I hope they relaunch, as at the time of this recording, and when you're listening, they have about 15 hours to go. So hopefully we'll see this one back in the limelight. Next, do you like baseball? Well, if you do, you better jump on this one. All-Star Lineup Baseball, fast-paced tabletop baseball. All-Star Lineup Baseball. It's fast-paced, head-to-head or solo baseball action on your tabletop. This one goes through the 31st of August, so it's drawing to a close, so watch out for that one. And next, are you into role-playing games? Well, if you are, you check out Dark Naga, OSR Haunting of Hastur modules. All 5 parts of the Haunting of Hastur series in print for the OSR. Definitely check this one out. If you didn't go back and listen to our interview with Kevin, you can find out more about it there, as we sat down with Kevin to talk all about it, as well as some other role-playing greats out there. Can you pat your head, rub your belly, and name all the planets in our solar system with time running down? Do you like laughing with others while they try to complete other fun and bizarre tasks? Then check out Survival of the Dummies, a party game for underachievers. In this trivia-based party game, teams take turns answering questions while being distracted by ridiculous or frustrating instructions. Back the full game on Kickstarter, or try before you buy or pledge with a free print-at-home demo over there at www.survivalofthedummies.com/subscribe. So definitely check that one out. It's fun. We had the creator of that on the show as well. Next, if you didn't listen to our last episode, Barbarian Leaf was really gushing over this one, but Battle Bosses. Battle Bosses is a multiplayer miniature battle arena game for 2 to 6 players, where each player controls an epic boss and their minions. You have through the 14th of September to check out Battle Bosses by the Kesco Company. Another great game Do you remember playing Truth or Dare as a kid? Well, check out a strategic party game by Jackwagon, which players perform challenges to earn badonka dollars. The most money after 60 to 90 minutes wins. Being a family-friendly podcast and all, the one we can get behind is option 1. It's PG-13, but if you do this way, you can play with your green challenge deck only, removing the jacked up cards and excluding the Jackwagon deck to form their family-friendly version, which is acceptable for teenagers 13 to adults. So that'd be our family-friendly version, or their family-friendly version. We'll leave all the links in the show notes like usual. And then another one, we just barely sat down with the creators, and you'll be able to hear them next week, but Zombs, a half-brain card game. It's a fast, fun, zombie-themed retro-style card game featuring a flying pig and a unicorn riding a tank. The artwork is awesome. It reminds us of, or where they got their inspiration, as well as it reminds me of the Garbage Pail Kids from back in the 90s. So, if you like any nostalgia and stuff, I would definitely check out Zombs, a half-brained card game that is running through the 21st of September, and we're going to have the chance to review that. I don't know if I told you, the Jackwagon's Truth or Dare-like game is running through the 16th of September. So if I didn't, there I go. I just did.
Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
What if everybody you know, loved, and remembered are just complex simulations in a computer-generated universe? What if you began to see through the shroud that separates what you think is your life from what is real? What if you wake up from this simulation only to wonder if you are in another?
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story of Simulation Theory Boardgame, STG. Do you trust your reality? And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this great game, Mark. Is that correct, Mark? Is that how you fall in line with Simulation Theory Boardgame?
That is correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Now, before we get into the game and what it is and everything, let's rewind a little bit. We don't have to go back too far, terribly far, of course, unless you were born into tabletop board games. But how did you get started into playing tabletop board games and whatnot, Mark?
Oh, no problem. Originally, from a young age, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my cousin, actually. That's how all this started. In Southeast Asia in particular, having opportunities to play board games are pretty scarce. I mean, we basically had access to things like the big Hasbro titles like Monopoly, Scrabble, Mastermind. But it's only later on that we started to get more familiar with the titles that I think in the Western world are pretty much mainstream now, like Settlers of Catan, more big titles such as Splendor, and so. In fact, board gaming in Southeast Asia is a bit of a something which is gathering momentum lately. And the fact is that I've been in the industry myself for probably about 6 years.
And that's playing, or no? That's making games, huh? For 6 years?
That's correct. I was actually involved on the distribution end. And what happened is that I started designing them not too far back. We began with a TCG, a trading card game. So that's actually the deep end. I was involved with consulting certain titles for development because due to my mathematical expertise. And later on, I was involved with our own title, which we launched in 2014. And we have done a tabletop RPG, and this is actually our first traditional board game format.
Oh, wow. So, and before you talked about where you started with the role-playing games with Dungeons and Dragons and then playing the Hasbro games, so that's awesome. And you said they're just barely coming readily available there in Southeast Asia? Board games?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the 1990s, early 90s, in fact. And then after that, Magic the Gathering began to kick off, and we started seeing a lot more things available. For example, wargaming started around that time in our region. And we also, that was like 40K. I had 1,000 Suns army. It was pretty embarrassing. I was very bad at it as well. Yeah, and role playing was always my first call because it was kind of freeform. It was second edition Dungeons and Dragons as well. I played all the way until it went up to 3.5. Then you had that split with Pathfinder. I played a bit of 4, never touched 5. We also had access to the White Wolf games, the World of Darkness series, and I think another one which was pretty accessible here was things like I just said it, the WOTD stuff, which is Vampire the Masquerade.
Awesome. So and then you said you created a role-playing game. How did that go down, or what's the name of that title?
Well, it is Megacorp, the role-playing game. It's actually free online, www.megacorprpg.com. What you see there basically is quite a significant amount of content, a rule set, and we've actually structured the mythology, the same mythology as the TCG, and the lore backdrop is the same as our current board game as well. The rule set is actually quite different from most of the other ones out in the market. Maybe the closest one is probably the Fate core system. But I'm pretty proud of this because it actually uses 2 opposed roles as opposed to static challenge ratings. And the other interesting thing about that is there's very little setup involved with getting ready for RPG, which is something that actually irked me as a player myself. Between rolling up a new character and leveling up, these were the 2 things which took up the most amount of time, and it can actually really disrupt your session, especially if you have 5 or 6 people in your party.
So how did you get rid of that then for your new system?
Well, instead of the 6 typical statistics, your strengths, dex, con, we've compressed them into 4 traits, which is IQ, EQ, MQ, BQ, which is intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, moral quotient, and body quotient. So we're having 4 instead of 6. And the thing is that a lot of the interactions involves rolling, adding that, but there's so many modifiers when you come to high levels in other D20 like titles. So we actually restrict the number of modifiers in, to 3. So you basically have the role, we have the trait possessed by the character, and the third thing basically is a single modifier. So it's a single modifier rule. And the characters can be rolled up just using 3 layers. You just set up a character with their trait scores. You roll those up first. What we do is you roll 8 D10s and you arrange those numbers. For example, if you roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? You just rearrange those to form like 1, 2, 3 can become like 12 or 21, and 3, 4 can become 34 or 43. Obviously, you want to have the higher numbers. You arrange that into your 4 trait scores. Add on a layer of skills. Now, these pretty much have a lot of parallels with the D20 system. Things like climbing, fishing, everything in the game is a competency. Now, even stuff like magic use, which is psionic use, cybernetics, genetic enhancements, everything which a player can use is considered competency, down to your sensory perception, your sight, your hearing. That's also a competency which can be leveled up. You only level those up when you actually score a critical hit, or you achieve a 0, which is learning through failure. The simple explanation, without me going into the entire system, is that whenever a check is made, this is called a challenge roll. You roll a D10 as opposed to a D20. You roll a D10, add your modifiers, and you deduct the opposed roll, which is basically the obstacle or the other player trying to hit you, or the other player trying to avoid being hit, which is their D10 plus their modifiers. You deduct those 2 numbers. Now, if you end up with a negative number, you obviously fail. If you end up with a positive number and you exceed that by 4, that's a critical. If you hit it spot on, which is a 0, you fail, but you still learn something. It's just like learning how to cycle, right? You fall off the bicycle, but you figured out that's not the way to cycle, and you can cycle from this point onward. You add 1 point to the rank of that competency. So essentially, that's the entire system in a nutshell. You learn through failure.
Oh, wow, I really like that. Is there anything else out there like that where you learn when you fail?
I don't think so, because when we were making the premise of the core system, we did not find many parallels in the market. And of course, I had to make this a little bit more appealing to an Asian market as well. So I mean, there was some degree of localization involved because it felt wrong for us to basically fight something and it wasn't dynamic that way. Like I mean, CR20 just beat, not CR20. I'm thinking in Chinese. Sorry. What's the word for it? Not challenge rating. It is a difficulty class. That's what I was looking for. DC. So the concept of DC, I was thinking, why is that a static number? Shouldn't it move around? Because the other guy has the opportunity to screw up as well, because he's not standing still, right? If you want me to talk more, I can keep going. Yeah.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. So that's awesome, and so yeah, that's wow. And you said you can play that for free online on your website.
Well, yeah, you can download all the rules. You can get all the content available. It's actually a Wikipedia page. A media wiki page, because we structured it as a wiki so that the information is a little bit more accessible. And it really gets people into the mythology of the Megacorp universe.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'll have to check that out when I get some time. That's awesome. I really like that system from what you're explaining and stuff. That sounds awesome. Now, jumping back over to board games or whatnot, minus Simulation Theory board game, do you have a current favorite that you like to play? Because if I let you pick that one, my audience might dump me in an alternate reality, and who knows what will happen to me. The podcast may be over as we know it.
So, Amy, do I have a favorite board game to play? That's what your question is?
Yeah. What's your favorite board game to play besides one of yours?
Oh, okay. Dead of Winter. I like that one.
Awesome. We have that on our shelf somewhere. We haven't yet to play it. So per se, somebody else is out there like me that either has it and hasn't played it or hasn't heard about it. What can you tell us about Dead of Winter?
Oh, Dead of Winter is a zombie survival game. You guys are cooped up in a headquarters, a base, and what happens is that the zombies, well, they keep growing. There's more and more of them, and they have to survive a set number of turns while trying to maintain levels of fuel and food. And there are survivors that some of them help your cause, and some of them are useless and just sit there consuming food. And basically, the game is interesting because it's completely collaborative, and players can actually screw everybody else by using up too much fuel, dying, turning into zombies, and they have to go outside their settlement to find resources like food, fuel, and possibly weapons and useful things like vehicles. And so that one's pretty replayable because it's also a great game for repeat plays if you have a regular group, because it's random enough, but it doesn't have that heavy element. I mean, I did enjoy playing the Game of Thrones board game as well, but that takes hours. That takes it's like a very long version of Risk, actually. So yeah, that's another title. So yeah, that's easily a 5 hours gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said you like the quicker stuff. That's why you did the whole RPG. So going back to the whole reason you're here, and jumping back to Megacorp again. The word on the street is you guys have a current new game on Kickstarter currently. What can you tell us about Simulation Theory board game?
Well, the game is a game about simulated reality. Is in real life, the scientific concept, the premise is a simulation hypothesis. It's not a theory yet, but I mean, some people call it theory because it just sounds cooler, I guess. But we might be living inside a fake universe. Pretty much the same theme explored in the movies like The Matrix or Inception, whereby what if I'm living inside a giant VR simulation, a virtual reality simulation, or what if I'm inside this horrendous social experiment, such as we are actually inside a game, inside an arcade, in some futuristic society, and this is just a test, Of course, there are deeper philosophical references for this as well. Now, the game itself is a game for 1 to up to 6 players if we unlock the stretch goals, but the basic game is up to 5 players. And what happens is that players take their turns at the same time. And what they're doing is they're exploring the environment of their current reality, trying to find the exit, because each of these characters which the players take on realize there's something wrong with their universe. Something's off. This isn't the real world. I can start talking about the story basis. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what can you tell us about the story basis? It sounds like there's a couple of them out there.
Yes, there is. There's three different universes, three different realities in the game itself. The first one is the stone reality, which is actually a fantasy setting. Now, in the setting of the stone reality, I'm going to take time for each one, so just bear with me. It's actually...
Yeah, go right ahead. You're good.
Okay, so the stone reality basically is based on the world of Gaius, and specifically on this continent called Terris. Now, there is a stone that fell from the heavens, and it has caused a huge upheaval because the legend has it whoever holds the stone will become a god, or at least possess godlike power. But if you are not marked or basically chosen, if you were to hold a stone, you might possibly die. Now, in game terms, whoever reaches a stone will realize that, hey, this universe is fake, and wakes up, right? But to the people of Gaius, the world around them is very real indeed, because they have a couple of thousand years of history. They had an age of darkness and fire, and then they have 8 god kings that are presumably the people that created the universe, and they're still walking around mortals. So they have empires. There are 6 characters. Let me name them for you. A warlord, a sage, a wizard, a demoness, a paladin, and a prince. If I get into each individual one, there's actually a ton of lore with them. It's on the website as well. But each of them basically has a different reason for going after the stone. Let me just pick a few interesting ones. For example, the prince, his father's a god king, right? The problem with having a god as a father is that he's never going to die. So he's never going to get to be king, right? So the only other way, yeah, that sucks. So the only other way for him to circumvent that is to go find something that makes him a god, so he'll be on equal terms with dad and stand on his own, get out of that shadow. And he disguises himself as a peasant and infiltrates the continent of Terris, which is where the stone landed. It's just convenient that the continent of Terris is not the jurisdiction of any one god king. It's basically a neutral zone. And there are 4 major capital cities there. There is basically the elf-like Fahin have their home there. There's the beastmen, which there are 3 types of them. Basically, they are like genetic chimeras. They are catmen, they are dogmen, wolfmen, and birdmen, essentially Nephilim, have angel wings. And we also have machine men out in the desert. And of course, you got good old boring humans. Yeah. So the lore backdrop sounds especially epic, but it gets really explored in the RPG mode of the game. Let me move on to the next reality before I get too deep. The next reality is a little bit more closed in rather than a sandbox. This is the prison reality. Now, if you think that we just slapped the law on, it's not the case. We actually wrote, I actually wrote quite a lot of it. The prison reality is based in a prison called Simbulan, and Simbulan is a prison in a city called San Miguel, and San Miguel is a city in a country called Argos, and Argos is a country on a continent called Alhu, and Alhu is on Gaia, the planet, and we had to make all of those things. Now,
and what solar system is that planet in?
Solar system is that planet in? No, I didn't go that far.
Oh, okay.
Well, the thing is that if you're the universe of the game is the same universe as Megacorp, right? Actually, this is the same planet as the Stone reality, but we didn't make it too obvious, of course. Now, the prison basically is a symbol of penitence because without going super deep, the prison was actually built by a corporation as a way to apologize for what was essentially a ruse. You see, the prison is owned by a family of Nephilim, which is they have angel wings. Sound familiar, right? So for the longest time, the largest religion on the planet believed that the angels were messengers from God. And in this case, they aren't, because it was revealed that they are actually genetically modified humans. Now, when this ruse was revealed, people got really upset. They tore pages out of their holy books. Libraries were destroyed. Angel statues were smashed. And obviously, the people, the Nephilim themselves, were persecuted. And it was a giant witch hunt. So the noble family that is influence in their community basically decided to donate an extremely large sum of money to build this prison, which is in the shape of a kneeling angel. And the prison is one of the largest ones in the entire country. In fact, it is the largest one in the entire country, one of the largest ones on the planet. It houses more than 20,000 inmates at once. And in the context of simulation theory, we are only interested in one block, the Block G. Now, Block G is the Supermax wing, where the worst of the worst are stored. Now, people here are basically from organized crime. They're hardcore criminals, been in and out of prison so many times, extremely violent, dangerous to other inmates. Everybody there basically has a minimum 10-year sentence or higher. And we also have terrorists and political prisoners as well. Now, what happened is that some outside force caused the systems in the prison to fail. Now, what happened to that is that the doors opened, the robot sentries stopped working, the surveillance turned off, all access to the outside world, the internet connection was just cut off, and there was a giant full-scale prison riot. Now, when the riot took place, they managed to break into a secret part of the prison which nobody knows exists. And this is a bit like Area 51, and we call this Level 44. Now, in Level 44 is a black site. Now, it doesn't officially exist because the people inside this part of the prison are extremely sensitive. Now, I don't know a good American equivalent of what I'm saying is that one of the most wanted controversial figures in Southeast Asia right now is the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, which is Najib Razak, that apparently, allegedly absconded with more than $2 billion, right, from his country's sovereign fund. So imagine if somebody of that level is inside this black site. So that's the level of people who are being kept in this black site. We're talking about bags over heads, brought in on a wheelchair, unconscious, like really CIA bad. So the prisoners from Supermax, in their huge riot, broke into the black site and are figuring out, wait a minute, there's a prison inside a prison. And the player characters play 6 people who wake up inside the black site. They are the black site prisoners. So, yeah, one of them's a journalist. Now, obviously, the journalist found out something that she shouldn't have. That's why she's there. There's a mob boss who's thought to be dead. There's a politician who put himself there because he doesn't want to get killed, because obviously nobody can find him. So you're finding this fun, right?
Yeah, I like it. I love it.
The next 3 are a little bit brutal. There's a serial killer. We're talking Hannibal bad. This guy like kills, eats people. And so he's so bad that, you can't put him in Supermax because, he's going to kill everybody else. So he's going to be in isolation permanently. And what better way to do that than put that guy into a virtual reality chair that makes him think that he's still awake and he's still killing people, so he can't hurt anybody, right? So, yeah. So, wait, we still have 2 more. We have a policeman, a cop. Now, what the hell is a cop doing there? Now, he doesn't know either. So, he's a good cop in a bad place. What makes the game interesting is that if you play the RPG mode, and if you finish the reality, the outcome may be a little bit different than you think. For example, let me just give out a small spoiler. If you complete with the cop, he could turn out to be a good cop and he was framed, or he can turn out to be a bad cop and he put himself there on purpose, somehow. So that's all I'm giving away for that one. And yeah, so that's the prison reality in a nutshell. And basically, the thing gets deeper and deeper because the prisoners can't find their way out. And the only way out is either find the man in charge, maybe find a warden, obviously, or find their way into the control room, because the control room has access to the outside world. It has access to all the prisoners' records. And it also basically has a potential to open the hidden exit, because it seems that whoever built the Supermax wing has sealed them in. So it's like they paved over the entrance, so they can't even find the entrance. Or is the prison a giant social experiment? You see, I'll give you another spoiler. It could be so screwed up that when they finally ascend from this reality, everybody who has played the testing version of the game, we played it across Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, we went to Thailand. I haven't had a chance to journey out into Western countries yet because of the tight campaign schedule. They've only seen like a fragment of this, but when you ascend from one reality to another, we also explain what happens. For example, when you ascended from the stone reality and touch the stone, right, and you ascend into the prison reality, what happens is that you wake up in the virtual reality chair, and that prison, the prison is creating that VR program to keep you sedated. And it's also to take information out of your mind, because you won't easily confess to committing a crime, right? But the evidence is sitting around in your brain somewhere. But we need to keep your brain active, and we need to keep you unconscious at the same time. How do we do that? VR, right? So the character wakes up. For example, if you were the paladin in the stone reality and you woke up as the cop, you're like, oh, I dreamt that I was a paladin. Oh my goodness me, my real life, I'm a cop. The whole world of Gaius, that's all fake.
Oh, wow. So do you have to go through all three realities to get out of the game, or how does that work?
That's right. You go through all three realities. Players can choose which order. For example, if you you can choose the Ark reality first, then go to the prison, then end up with stone. You can choose it in any order, and the manual will provide the narrative, and a narrative will be different. For example, if you woke up from the next reality, is the Ark reality, which is a space colony ship going to colonize another planet, right? And they need to keep all the colonists in cryostasis. But if you don't provide them some way of stimulating their brains actually necrotize over a long time. Yes? Well, one thing which I didn't reveal in the Kickstarter campaign and on the website, I mean anywhere, is that not all the colonists are kept as human popsicles. Some people are not so lucky. For example, the really rich, the powerful, military men, people with connections, they get to have their entire body cryogenically preserved while in transit. But it's very expensive to do that, obviously. So the other not so fortunate people are brains in jars. They are disembodied. That means they're just brains. They have no bodies. Their bodies are going to be 3D printed when they get to the new planet. And the least fortunate of all are the people who have no brains and no bodies aboard the Ark. They're stored as digital. They're basically stored as digital memories. They have digital memories, and their entire body and their brain will be 3D printed by organic printers when it lands on the planet. You see, and the ones which are kept in cryostasis, they're in a virtual reality. So when you wake up from the prison, you wake up as one of the passengers aboard the Ark. You see, what happened is that the life support systems of the Ark are beginning to fail. As a result, the ship's emergency protocols have kicked in, and they can only keep 10% of the colonists alive, because you're losing oxygen, you're losing atmosphere, you're losing power. It's not great, right? And in order to ensure the survival of the mission, which is potentially what's left of the human race, they put them through this simulation. Like, imagine if the last reality was a stone reality. It's a test. So only 10% of the people can survive. But which 10%? How do you choose that? You run a test. So people which are worthy will take the stone, right? So those are the guys that wake up. So the other way of doing this is if they were in a prison simulation, and it's not necessarily virtual. Now imagine if the entire prison was built as a single structure inside this gigantic Ark spacecraft, and when they finally find the exit from the prison, they open it up and they're actually inside the spacecraft. See, there are two ways this can go. 3, the actual number of permutations is actually 9.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Do I keep talking about the Ark?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go right ahead. I'm intrigued, if you want.
There are 6 characters on the Ark. One is a entrepreneur. Let's call him a billionaire. He's obviously rich enough to get himself a seat on the Ark. The rest are various members of the crew. One is, of course, a super soldier, which is a security guy. One is a communications officer. The next is a biologist. I wanted to call this character doctor, but I thought it's cooler if we just call him a biologist. And then we actually have a pilot and an engineer. So all of these are obvious, like spaceship roles. Now, the crew have one special thing that distinguishes them from the rest of the colonists. They have golden blood. In fact, their blood is swimming with nanites. This is called nano blood, which is exactly the same thing in the mythology of the other games I did. So this nano blood was given to them by a godlike AI. So what happened as the backdrop is that Earth is completely screwed. We managed to screw it up. I don't think you're very surprised there. Environmental disaster, political upheaval, we started killing each other, and we created AI. And the AIs basically turned from being our children into our parents. Because one of the AIs, her name is Janisha, decided that, hey, humanity needs a second chance. Let's give them another shot. And the other AIs was like, look, if you want to look after them, you're doing this alone. We're going somewhere else. So she stayed behind and gave humanity its last hope. Viable designs for interstellar spacecraft. And this created jobs. This created activity. People were all focused on one purpose, building these damn ships and getting off Earth. And 24 planets were identified, and this arc is the 14th of 24. And they're heading to a planet which is designated P414, which is also the subject of the prison reality, which is the same planet, which is Gaia. So they're heading towards that planet, and the journey is going to take 100 years. So not everybody's going to be awake. So we made this a bit ultra-realistic because it's not a generation ship. It's not... We're going to give birth to the next generation of humans aboard the ship, and by the time we reach there, we would have all these families. No, that's not going to work. There's only like a small handful of people which are kept awake on a cycle, which is the crew, and they have been genetically and cybernetically augmented to the point that they were immortal, and they can automatically communicate with the ship using their nanoblood. But some idiot turned the ship's AI off. That's one thing that they discover. And the next thing they discover is that, hang on a minute, we're already in orbit. They look out the window and the planet is right there. Why aren't we landing? And the orbit which they're on, the orbit's decaying. That means they've been in orbit for some time. And it has occurred that some humans have woken up, have opened up the agricultural module, which is supposed to terraform the planet, and they started growing vegetables and food and using up resources which were meant for the terraforming effort. And 2 generations of humans have been alive on the ship when they were not supposed to be. And as one of the members of the crew that woke up, you're like, what the hell's going on? Where's the captain? Why haven't we landed? So everybody's trying to break into the bridge. And that is basically where the supposed means to get out of this reality. In fact, as one of the players, you'd still think that this is your subjective reality. You still think this is absolute truth. And normally when they exit the third reality, I would tell the players that you guys exit one more time and realize you're sitting around a table playing Simulation Theory with me. So that will be the ultimate exit. And of course you can mess with their minds and say, or is it? Are you still in a reality? Yeah. So I know that's a bit of a mouthful, so maybe I should let you ask specific questions now. Otherwise, I'm just...
Oh, that's awesome. Where can I see the movie?
Well, we have a music video coming up. We actually shot it in 9 different shoots. This is a shout out to the action stunt crew, Rebel Empire. They actually helped me both shoot and cast this. Video editing was done at our end, and special effects as well. We're going to actually unveil that before the end of the campaign. It's right now the 24th, and we are about to end the campaign on the 1st of September, but we should see the video out in the next couple of days as a final marketing push. But even if people don't appreciate the board game and they're not gamers, they can still appreciate the music video, because that's a pseudo movie already.
Yeah, just listening to it sounds like it should be a movie and a book and all this other stuff too as well.
Oh yeah, I already made the RPG setting for it. That's why it's so detailed.
Oh wow, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so this is basically it's my life. This is what I like to do. So the stories for all 3 realities are already fully written out, and what makes the game interesting is that they can actually change the narrative a bit. So I've talked, I think, too much about the lore of the game. about the gameplay of the game, basically, we're doing something a little bit different. In fact, I discovered that we're probably the only board game ever to ever introduce a reveal dice mechanic. I don't think anybody has done that, which actually we thought was pretty amusing because if you saw the demos of the game, you have to cover dice with your hands, and then you reveal the position which that player is going to take, because each player takes their turn at the same time, right? So players could target the same or different cards in order to make interaction with the reality that they're in. Now, I actually got that idea from, it's a Chinese drinking game where we go into the bar and the bartender gives you a cup and you've got a couple of dice. And we call it liar's dice. Or you basically try to guess the number of dice which is underneath the cup of the other player. Like, oh, you have 4 5s or you have 4 6s. And you can basically, one player basically makes the bluff and the other players basically say, hi, you're lying. And everybody opens up their cup. And if you're lying, you have to drink, basically. And that game has been around for, I'm not exaggerating here, potentially about 1,000 years. That's how long we've had it in our culture. Like opening up a cup and showing dice, that's not new.
So, but there's no drinking involved in Simulation Theory board game, is there?
Well, unless you want to. We actually wrote it into our difficulty rules because we had some North American friends tell me, hey, I want to play this in a party. I said, sure. Whenever you miss, drink. That's easy. So there is what we call the fraternity version, if you like.
And also family friendly as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you consider romance a little bit, a bit sensitive, I mean, we try to keep it as clean as we can because don't forget, one of our biggest audiences here is Indonesia. It's the biggest Muslim country in the world. So over here, we are totally cool with Muslim friends, and we kind of respect the way they think. So we cover up the girls a bit. We don't put anything there that will offend them. And also, by doing so, we also made it relatively PG. I mean, there are some concepts like war and people getting killed, obviously. So that would require some degree of parental advisory. I mean, but there's nothing beyond that.
Wow. Well, yeah. And this listening to the narrative, I'm totally intrigued. That sounds like you said, an awesome movie. And it looks like the campaign is going through the 9th of September. And you said sometime in between now and the 9th of September, that music video will come out somewhere?
Yeah, because we set it for 39 days, not 30 days, sorry.
Yeah. So, and now I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So if somebody goes ahead and backs Simulation Theory board game, when would they anticipate getting their game so they can start trying to get out of the different realities and play the game?
Okay, we were trying to get it to them before Christmas. That's basically the big, hairy goal. We want people to be able to give this to people during Christmas. So the November date basically is it's doable because we're already interfacing with the manufacturers. The only thing which has happened is a good problem is that we didn't expect the amount of stretch goals that we have. So now we have to add a lot of components into the game, which is of course a win, right? You would wait a little bit to get more stuff. So that's exactly what we're doing. In fact, the narrative, the storytelling mode of the game is the first stretch goal unlock, which is of course the story mode.
Okay, awesome. And so they'll have to wait to get everything as we get the stretch goals, or they'll get the main game and then the other stuff later. Is that what you said?
That's correct. Oh no, the base game basically. I would like to give them everything at once because I can actually deliver the game now without the narrative elements, but that would suck, right? So I mean, I would like to put that in. Yeah. So the thing is that we are probably going to give the adventure manual as a PDF because I did not promise a printed manual because it's going to be way too big. It's going to be more than 200 pages if we try to put it into print. So they're going to have a PDF manual, and we're going to have the physical manual as an add-on later. But the base game, basically, there's 2 modes of the game that can be played totally without the adventure elements, which is, of course, a casual mode, which is very simple, easy for parties, and the challenge mode, which will require additional rules, asymmetric abilities for the characters. And there's adventure mode, which is half of the quest mode I described, which you play with all the pieces face up. So there's no randomness. It's very skill-based. And that version of the game takes a little bit longer than normal. And with the quest elements, you'll be getting quest cards for each character. So basically, as the game advances, you would basically read out, like each player will read out a narrative, like the warlord walks into the room, sees the mermaid, blah blah blah. So you have one player reading out the lines for his character. It's like a play, and the other player reading out the lines of the other character, and the third player reading out the lines of the narrator. If you're playing solo, it doesn't matter. You're playing with yourself anyway. Sorry, that sounded wrong, but yeah. So the thing is that the components for the quest mode, basically, let me just describe briefly what the additional stuff that we got now. Yep. So we're going to get a quest deck. Now, this is about 7 cards per character. Now, there are 5 characters per reality, a 6th character if it's unlocked in the stretch goals. So that's potentially 18 times 7 extra cards already. And don't forget all the standees. We have to make all the standees for all these story elements. For example, the extra robotic guards that roaming around the prison, we have standees for that. Now, those didn't exist without the stretch goal, but we have to make them now. So you see why some people have been going, whoa, you guys are pretty ambitious. You're going to do it by November. I say, yes, we are really trying to do that. And in our last Kickstarter, we actually delivered it at Gen Con when we launched the campaign the day before Gen Con. So I'm actually pretty shocked why people are shocked. We've done it before. So our planning has been pretty spot on. So I'm not going to promise too much. They can definitely enjoy the story in the quest mode. Now, how they exactly engage, I'm not going to spoil that too much right now. It's better that it is actually experienced. And if you got any specific gameplay questions, I can address them right now, actually.
Yeah, so you said everybody's playing simultaneously. I saw the Kickstarter video and whatnot, and the only I imagine there's other games out there like that, but I've seen it in Jetpack Joyride. But so we're all sitting down and everybody's trying to get out at the same time, or how does that look, or what does it sound like, the gameplay?
Okay, the gameplay basically is each character has a character board, right? Now the character board gives you the statistics for your character, which is measured in IQ, EQ, MQ, BQ, right? The 4 elements. And you try to defeat challenges on the board which have one of the 4 traits. Now, if you hit a challenge with a wrong trait, you miss, and basically you waste your turn and you have to try that next. Now, the game basically has two stages every turn, a planning stage and an action stage. Now, the planning stage, every player uses 2 dice to specify the coordinates on the board. For example, the board is a 5x5 board, right? And you're trying to hit a card which is at row 2, column 3. So you would basically put your dice as 3, 2. One dice is 3 and a second dice is 2. Now, both dice are different colors. And the coordinates are also marked down the board, which makes it a bit easier. So the thing is that you obviously don't want to let the other players know where you're going, because otherwise they might be trying to defeat the same challenge. And if you end up hitting the same spot at the same time, that's where player versus player happens. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. So in the planning phase, all 4 players, or all 6 players for that matter, hide their dice, reveal them at the same time, and then put their standee onto the main board where they target it. And then we resolve these challenges at the same time. So you reveal, if you're playing casual mode, the cards are face down. You have to reveal the cards which they targeted. And of course, you resolve them, who defeated what. If somebody defeats a challenge and more than one player defeated a challenge, they have to roll to decide who's the first person to take a treasure from the treasure deck. And if only one person gets it, they just take cards from the treasure deck. Now, there's an exit in the treasure deck, and there's an exit under the boss inside when you defeat the boss card as well. So there are 2 ways to exit.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And it's a competitive game. It's not cooperative, is it?
Well, primarily it's competitive. Well, actually, when we were doing the testing initially, we tried to design for couples, because we had a lot of couple testers where you had a husband and wife, or a girlfriend and a boyfriend. And basically, some of them hated each other. That's normal. But some of them wanted to work together. So there's actually an option to collaborate in the non-casual modes of the game. Instead of putting the dice onto the trait which you're using, you can put the dice onto this icon, which means collaborate, which means you're collaborating with another player who's targeting the same spot. Now, of course, you can screw him over by just doing a regular challenge on the same spot, and you both end up fighting each other anyway. But 2 players can basically gang up on a 3rd player, or if they're not strong enough to defeat a powerful challenge like a boss, they can basically, one player uses collaborate and the other player uses the target. That's how it works. So there is a collaboration mechanic built in, but it's only on challenge.
Okay, awesome. Because we prefer in our home competitive games, even though I end up losing most of the time.
Okay.
So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it just sounds like an awesome game. What can you tell us about that? I'm not looking at the bottom or whatnot. It looks like there's some social stretch goals to get some what do you call it? Clothing that goes along with the game, or what is that all about?
Oh yeah. We were about to give a T-shirt to every single person that backed at least a game, but we need to hit these stretch goals. Social goals. 100 Facebook video shares. That's basically the link of the video on our Facebook. 3,000 Facebook likes. We are up to 1,276 right now. 1,000 Twitter followers. In Asia, nobody uses Twitter, so we only have 20 followers. Not surprised there. And Instagram, we need 1,000 followers. So we only have 197 now. These were reduced. Originally, we were really ambitious. We made like 10,000 followers and stuff like that because we tried to engage our Southeast Asian friends who were not really into board games but could still participate because everybody loves social media over here. And we tried that, but we reduced it. Now, the statistics are the latest updated as of the 21st, which is just a couple of days ago. So, if we hit all the goals, everybody gets a T-shirt. And we're helping out a friend from Bandung, Indonesia. And you can see that video down the campaign page where we actually walked into his factory to show everybody what life is like in the textile industry. So he made our hoodies and he made our T-shirts, and it's directly from the source. There's no middleman. I can speak Bahasa Indonesian myself, so there's no communication barriers. And there we go. That's what we have for a social goal. It's a pretty good perk. We didn't want to just sell the T-shirts and add on. It's meaningless. We wanted to help these guys out.
Oh yeah, so that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Awesome. So yeah, go ahead and if you're listening right now, go ahead and share that Facebook video, like them on Facebook, join their Twitter and also the Instagram, become followers on there, and you can get a T-shirt as well as the game. So that's awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely. And we'll make sure we leave all the links in the show notes so they don't necessarily have to type it in. They can just click on it and go ahead and check out the Simulation Theory board game or whatnot, so they don't have to get in an accident or whatnot. They can wait till they get home and click the show notes or whatnot. Now, the next portion of our podcast, Mark, is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, or even a video game. I don't know what apps are like over there in Singapore or whatnot, but is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment?
Oh, besides Facebook? Yeah, I use Facebook a lot. Wait. Let me take a look at my phone here. So what are apps which I use pretty frequently? I use Slack a lot, SLACK. Now, that's just a chat app which we use to communicate internally with the team. It's very useful. It's cross-platform. And the best part is when I go to China, Slack is not blocked. Because you should know that Facebook and WhatsApp don't work in China. Yeah,
so there you go. So Slack isn't blocked there. If you own the rights to Slack, what would be one thing you would do to make it a better app?
Why would I make it do a better app? Actually, it's pretty good. It does its job. The only thing that it can't do properly is it doesn't stream video from within. Oh, wait, it does. Sorry. So I apologize. I just tried it. So at first I thought it couldn't stream video from within the app itself, but it can.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a pretty good app. You wouldn't do anything to change it?
Well, not really. They could make their charges a bit cheaper, but that's it. That's actually a premium subscribe mode because they don't let you keep all your messages. They let you keep the last 10,000, and if you pay, then your entire team can access all the previous archives. The reason why a lot of technology companies and small organizations in general like to use Slack is because it replaces meetings. You don't need to have face-to-face meetings when you can do threaded conversations. For example, you say that, hey, this part of the game needs a little bit of fixing, and then somebody can reply to that, and it's all real time. It's all in a chat, and it's all searchable. Everybody can search for everything, and you can create different channels. Like this channel is only to talk about development of the game. This channel is to talk about marketing of the game, or this channel is specifically to talk about the stone reality of simulation theory and what we can do to make it better. And the same users in Slack, in that Slack organization, can go between all these channels or create new ones to talk about specific stuff. And for business owners, if you need to keep track of how much people are talking to each other, you can see the statistics on the back end saying that, oh, this guy came into Slack at 9 a.m., rather than the guy clocks in and falls asleep at his table. And it's a little bit different to track productivity there.
Oh boy, well there you go, there you have it. So we'll make sure we put links in the show notes or whatnot. Now Minus coming over, we don't want to keep you all day, I guess it is over there. Minus coming over there to Singapore to stalk you and stuff. Personally, how would people go about keeping up with you or what you have going on over there at Megacorp Games?
Oh, easy. You can basically visit us on our Facebook page. It's Megacorp TCG, or you can also drop us an email. We'll be very happy to catch up with any backers that drop by, because it's not that common to have tabletop people coming from over your side of the world to our side of the world. It's quite a distance, and usually the ones over here are the ones which are already working in Asia. That's why we discovered expatriates, people that have been placed here by global organizations. And where to find out more, the website of the game is www.simulationtheorygame.com, or you can search for us on Kickstarter. We respond there as well. We'd love to hear their comments, and if you guys want to bug us on we actually have a community Facebook group as well as a Facebook page. It's the same. You can contact us either way.
Okay, awesome. And if you get me the links, I'll make sure I put all the links in the show notes so they can have access to that there as well. But yeah, we don't want to, like I said, we don't want to keep you all day, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf with us tonight or today or whenever it is for you guys, to be able to talk all about Simulation Theory Board Game as well as Megacorp and the whole world and everything you have set up there.
Fantastic. Yes, I hope you liked my universe. It took me 10 years to figure everything out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see that movie that you talked of is coming out, even though it's just a music video. Yeah, MTV.
Yeah, I mean, some people might go like, oh, there's a bunch of cosplayers running around and all that, but the thing is that it's honestly having this bunch of enthusiastic gamers working together. It was a lot of great fun doing it. It's also a lot of how many board games actually have an MTV. I think we're one of the very few.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so yeah, and you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Game Relief.
Thank you.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.